Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Crochet Witch Tarot. And we're here for a very fun tag made in collaboration with a whole group of wonderful people on a big tarot Discord that is out there. That we kind of made just to have some fun this springtime. So it is called the One Deck Gone Wild tag, and the whole premise, if you haven't seen any of the other videos yet, is that we each picked one tarot deck to focus on, and we just came up with all of these random questions to ask the deck and think about with the deck so that we could really just kind of spend time with it and have fun with it. So, without further ado, let's get into the tag. Okay, so all in all, I think we had like a list of 37 questions or something like that. I will be sure to put those down below. Now, if you want to join this tag, you are absolutely welcome to do all of the questions. I have selected randomly 18 of them here today. So just that I felt like I could answer easily with this deck that I chose. And the one we are looking at today is the Golden Tarot. So if you've seen some of my last few monthly favorites, this one has really been up there for me. I've just had so much fun getting to know it. I have, my original copy was one from Andy. It was one that she trimmed so beautifully and gave to me to try out. And I love that copy so much. But the other reason that I picked this deck for the tag is that US Games just came out with a linen edition of this, which is what we're looking at today. I'm so excited about it. It's so good. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, I guess that gets into the first question of why did you pick this deck? It's been such an exciting deck to me for the past few months. I really love it. It's one that really just captures the interest I have always had in the medieval time period. Like, since I was a little kid, I remember having such a fascination with it. It started with those history diaries. Oh my gosh, I meant to look up the name of those. I feel like I've mentioned them before for sure. We're gonna look it up really quick right now. History diary books. What are those called? I've read every single one, probably multiple times. Okay, they're the Dear America books. But I also really loved the Royal Diaries ones where it went into royals from history and it like made up this fictional diary for them. I don't know, they were the best. Anyway, it just captures that interest for me. Oh, I really love it. I'm so happy I have this deck. It's one of those kinds of things where it's like, it just makes me happy. So that's why we picked this deck for today. So, question number 2 I've picked is, what is your favorite set of minors? And for me, the set of minors that takes the cake in this deck for sure is the aces. I just really love a good, very illustrated, picturesque isn't the right word, pictorial? I don't know. Ace. Not that I don't mind when they're simple. There's definitely a time and place for that too. But something I really love about the aces in this deck is that there's so much to look at. And I feel like we don't always get that with the aces in these decks. And I love these characters. I love that there's this tie across them of this, like red-orange hair color. I feel like it's almost like they could be the same figure going throughout, which I think is really cool. And all of them are these angel figures, which is really neat. I don't know, I just think they're such awesome aces. Because sometimes that's a card I struggle with, just with the kind of general nature of it. But these really do help me get more of an idea of what I'm looking at when I'm doing a reading. Okay. Next question. Your favorite representation of the color blue? I love this question. I thought that was so fun. For me, it's the blue that shows up in the Eight of Swords. I guess we could zoom in a little more, huh? Let's do that, why don't we? I really love just how the color, specifically like how blue and red shows up in this deck. I think it's just really beautiful. But I picked this one because what I really enjoy about how specifically the blue sky looks here is that you really can tell from here to up here, there's this storm kind of rolling in. But it's in this way where it's like we're not super sure if it's going to actually stick around and hit right where this figure is or if it's going to blow right past them. But another feature of that is kind of like they have themselves blindfolded here really for no reason, and it's like this extra danger they could be putting themselves in just by like not taking in the whole scene of what's going on. So I think that's really just a cool way that blue is used in this deck. Okay. What card shifts your perspective? So I took this as kind of what card shifts your usual perspective, I guess, on that card meaning. And for me, it was the Hierophant card. And that is one that typically, I mean, I always see as like this teacher or guide, really there to instill this structure amongst other people. What I think is interesting about this Hierophant card, though, is as you can see, we have these two figures in the background, but he is completely looking off into the distance. We're not really sure what he's looking at, and doesn't he look just a little annoyed? He looks annoyed. And so I think that is such an interesting feature of the Hierophant card that I never really think about, of being in that position of sort of instilling this structure and these set of rules, I'm sure must sometimes be an annoying job to have. Like, when you, and that feeling of like, almost, when I've pulled this card, it's kind of come up in this way of like, do you feel like people aren't listening to you? Like, that you have these ideas that are good, and this way of doing something that really could work maybe better than some other way it's currently being handled, and people aren't listening. So it shows this like interesting side of the Hierophant, I think, at least how I perceive that image. Next question, favorite animal represented. Okay. 110%. The High Priestess card has a cheetah in it, and there's no explanation as to why. Why is there a cheetah? Is there usually a cheetah? Now I'm second guessing myself. There's not usually a cheetah in there, is there? No. I just love that she's got a cheetah. And I think I do really love the way animals show up in this deck in general, but this one is just kind of the most out there of like, why does she have a leashed cheetah? I don't know, it just, whenever I see this, it makes me want to look into like, okay, well, what do I need to know about cheetah? Like, what does cheetah energy represent in relation to the High Priestess? I've not really worked that out yet, but it interests me every time I see it. Because cheetahs are these really fast-moving animals, but I wouldn't see the High Priestess as this fast-paced card? You know? I don't know. So interesting. It makes me think every single time. What card would be your pet? Okay. The Hermit. I picked this one because to me it looks like he's keeping this baby deer as his pet, and I just think that is the dream. And also I would love to be the Hermit. That's how I aim to lead most of my life. So if I could live in the woods with a little pet baby deer, and then I think that's a cat. Like, he is living my dream. So if I could keep any card as a pet, it's just like, I want to be him in this situation. These are my pets. Their names are Duncan and Louise. and we're having a wonderful time in the forest. So that's the card I would have as my pet. Okay, now we're just gonna... the only thing I wasn't sure of what to do is like, okay, some of these questions, it's like you're showing cards, but then I guess we're just gonna look at the rest of the deck that I don't have set aside while we talk about the other questions. So, the next one I picked is, what is the deck's favorite book? The only thing that came in my mind at first was the Bible. Okay, perfect example right here. I mean, we've got a lot of biblical references going on in this deck because that was such a major theme, if not possibly one of, I don't want to say the only theme, but like kind of, of any sort of medieval art was biblical stories. So I'm like, well, of course, that would be their favorite book, like, huge fan. But then I think, so that's, I think, their top favorite book. But then if they are wanting something like fictional, that they can kind of like escape into, what am I saying? The Bible. Ooh, oh my god, I'm gonna make a statement there. Whoa. I've got no stance on the Bible. Is it nonfiction? Anyway, historical text. That's a historical text. That's what I'm gonna call it. Okay, so their fictional piece, written more modernly, that was the words I should have been saying, is, I think they'd be huge big fan of the Pillars of the Earth series, which I've actually read, which is quite shocking to me because they're huge books, but really good. So, I think that would be their favorite book. Now, if you made this deck a meal, what would it be? Now, you can't tell me you don't see this deck and just see beef stew. Maybe it would be lamb, though. I don't know. I've never had cooked lamb at all, and I don't really have that much of an interest. I don't know why. That's just my weird stance on it. But yeah, so if I could make this deck any meal, I just feel like it wants beef stew all the time. That's it. Where does this deck really want to go? If I was bringing this deck around, I feel like I'd be inclined to bring it to any library I was going to or any sort of museum I was going to. It feels like a deck that wants to just kind of keep learning and experiencing things in that way. I don't know, it's got like a art curator vibe to it, you know? Or like someone who goes to art museums frequently to just like sit and stare at a painting for a really long time. That's the that's the vibe. If the deck could have one superpower, what would it be? Okay, I think it would want to have the ability to transmute things. I'm thinking real water into wine here. If you couldn't tell, my brain got really stuck on the Bible for some reason. I mean, not that that's a mystery, because again, the art is all like biblical stories. Yeah, so I think they'd be super into alchemy. If they could have a superpower, it would be like literal transmutation. Is that the right word? I'm hoping so. Anyway, what's the deck's biggest fear? I mean, obviously the bubonic plague. I think that makes a lot of sense. You can see it in all their eyes of, oh no. Oh no. Hope it's not me. Yeah, so the bubonic plague, biggest fear. I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe like, I don't know, also being sent to hell or something, right? I mean, they all must have that fear there. I don't know how that works, but I'm just guessing. If the deck had its own collection, what would it be? I do kind of feel like this deck would collect historical tarot decks. I do feel that way. But if it had its own collection, all its own, because like if we were buddies, we were living together, and it wanted a historical deck collection, I would take care of that for them. You know, I'd say, let's add it to mine. You tell me what you want. I'll add it to the list, you know? But like, let's make a collection that's all your own, that I don't need to have a stake in. Because I'd want to see the historical decks, you know? I don't need to buy them for me, but if there's an interest from someone else and they want, you know, I'd want to see. I think they would collect books, specifically manuscript type texts. Like really historical manuscripts, ancient artifact book type thing. I just think that's what they would collect. And maybe even, I think they would go this step further and collect the kind of like historic tools for book and manuscript making so that they could like do that themselves. That's also what I think would happen. Oh, okay, this one's fun. This one's fun. So now I'm going to randomly draw 3 cards and we're gonna do bed, wed, behead. So basically the game F, marry, kill, but like the other wording suggested was bed, wed, behead, and I mean, we have to use that with this deck, right? Whoa. Okay. Let's just pull right from the top here. Oh my goodness. Okay, eek! Oh no! We've got little children! Oh, I don't... Okay. Eek! Darn it. What a stance this is making me take! Ah! Okay, we gotta switch out the children. I'm not having a stance on that. That's crazy town. That's crazy town. I can't do it. Alright. Perfect. Excellent. Better. Oh my goodness. Alright, so let's take a gander here. Alright. Okay. So, like, we've got the 5 of Swords. I mean, and that's a handsome dude. You know, relatively. But he's sneaky and he steals. We can't, that's not, that wouldn't make a good partner. Okay, that is for sure. But, you know, he's got the bad boy kind of thing going on for him, right? Yeah, okay. We're gonna bed 5 of Swords. What do we think over here? I mean, all right. So this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's stable. That would be really nice to have around. 2 of Wands, they're just kind of planning out. They don't have a plan. How can I trust that, you know? Oh, the decisions. All right. So, bed, 5 of Swords. Wed, 8 of Coins. Behead, 2 of Wands. So sorry. I need the reliability, you know? That we get in 8 of Coins. And I feel like he looks like an older man, but I feel like it'd be a kind of situation where, I don't know. I just feel like he'd be really nice to me. Okay, so there's that question. Bed, wed, behead. That was something. All right, next question. How old does the deck think it is? I think this deck thinks it's an absolute ancient artifact. I think it feels so old, like thousands of years, because it's this amalgamation of all this art that is really old, put into this new way. But I don't think it, you know, that makes it kind of modern in a way, obviously, but I just feel like it hasn't lost that feeling of age to it. So I think it feels like it's just thousands of years old. And that's what it is. Okay, so favorite card and least favorite card. My favorite card in the deck by far is the picture that shows up on the box, and that is the Queen of Wands. I just love this painting so much in general, so that's definitely part of it, but I just feel like picking this figure for the Queen of Wands was just really a cool choice, because this image gives off, to me, this really interesting, almost emperor-like energy. So it gives the Queen of Wands almost this kind of more powerful stance, in my opinion, compared to the images used for the other queens. there's this like really interesting regality to this that doesn't, like, to me this picture doesn't scream queen unless you're really gonna look at it in such a gendered way. But other than that, I feel as though easily this Queen of Wands could be like top dog there, complete ruler, and I really like that energy for the Queen of Wands. And my least favorite card, actually, I didn't realize that, funny enough, is the Emperor. And honestly, it is for just completely aesthetic reason. I just feel like this card is boring compared to the rest of the deck. Like, I get what's going on there, but I don't know, the picture feels boring to me compared to all the cool stuff going on in the rest of the cards. So, that is my favorite and least favorite cards. Next question. Which card represents you right now? The Sun card. Because, I don't know, I'm just feeling a little bit like a baby on a horse right now. I don't know, where's the horse going? Doesn't matter. Just wherever you think I need to go, that's fine. I'm just gonna sit here like a happy baby in the sun. And no thoughts. No thoughts, don't want to have any. That's okay. But then also, simultaneously feeling like the sun in this, the absolute, like, shade that sun is throwing of, like, okay, I want to be this baby on the horse, but also having this thought of, like, man, the horse is taking me somewhere real dumb right now. Like, what does it think it's doing? It has no idea what it's doing. But I don't want to tell it what to do. Just, like, let me be a baby on a horse. But then there's my brain being like, ugh, but what's the plan? This is crazy. So, that's my explanation as to why the Sun card is me right now. Okay, a card that makes me laugh, aside from that Sun card, is the Seven of Swords. Because can we just take a moment for the absolute side eye going on in this card? Like, it just absolutely perfected the shifty look that suits the Seven of Swords so well. Like, oh my gosh, because I can picture the whole scenario around this card, you know what I mean? Where to me, like, the side eye he's giving, I feel like, I feel like he's stealing swords that he thinks are really important, but they're actually, like, kind of the, like, not super nice practice ones that maybe are a little bent and dented already, like, no one's actually gonna miss them, but he thinks he's being so sneaky, and he's getting these good swords. Like, this will show them! So good. So good. Okay, and that brings us down to the last question I have answered for this deck, and we're gonna leave it on that guy, because I just like him. What is the Golden Tarot's favorite tarot deck? I had to choose the Tarot Day Ambiguities. I think they would really want something kind of classic feeling. I feel like they'd want a Marseille deck. But because the Golden Tarot kind of has this like collage together style, it's like classic yet goes its own direction all at once, and I feel like that's exactly what this Marseille deck does. So I just think, ooh, first of all, they look so cool together. Gonna have to try that. But don't you think that this deck would just, no, we gotta look at more cards now. I just feel like out of all the, so I was also going off of just like the decks I have. If this deck was gonna choose any other that could be their own personal deck, I just think it'd have to be this one. And look how cool they look together. That's exciting. Ooh, I'm gonna have to try that. Okay, well, that is all I have for you today. That was so much fun. I'm just so excited and so happy to be involved in the just fun good time that this tag is. So, if you are feeling like you have a deck that you'd like to just kind of have a play with, get to know better in this like kind of wacky fun way, I'd definitely love to see all of your responses. I can't wait to, I know there's already some up that I haven't even watched yet because I just got so excited. I can't wait to watch those. But other than that, I think that's all I have to say. So I hope you're having a wonderful week so far, and I will see you again very soon.